Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I have the cameras on in the kitchen and I'm making some macaroni and cheese. I'm also going to cook some Brussels sprouts and I'm going to fry some pork chops. So let's get started with how I make the pork chops. I have this recipe online on my website at plussizeinchicago.com. Just search for pork chops, and I have like different varieties of pork chops there, but you're looking for the fried pork chops. And I have the ingredients on the website, but as long as you're using the all-purpose seasoning to put directly on the pork chops, I added some olive oil on there so they can help bind it and make sure that the seasoning is sticking. And then on that website, I have my flour dredge ingredients that I have for coating those pork chops. And just follow those directions. And what you're going to do is fry that in your favorite cooking oil. I use canola cooking oil, and I'm just going to fry this like on a medium low heat. Next, to make that macaroni and cheese, I'm going to use some penne pasta. Usually I use elbow macaroni, but today I feel like I want to use penne. So I'm using some penne pasta. I'm just going to follow the directions. And what you want to do is just make sure that you're not cooking it until like it's like fully cooked. You want to cook it to like maybe 7 minutes so that it's al dente, because it's going to continue cooking once you put it in the oven. So I also have this recipe on my website too. You're just going to look for creamy macaroni and cheese. Now on the website, I do have instructions to add flour, and that's only if you're using straight up milk. But if you're using like a heavy cream as well as milk, you do not need flour to make that cheese sauce. So back to my sauce. So I'm going to add like some cheese. This is 3 cups of cheeses. I'm using some Mexican cheese as well as some cheddar cheese. And I'm going to stir it up and let it sit a little bit for like about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to come back to it and stir it some more. And as you can see, it has a really nice consistency. And that's how you do your cheese sauce. Now, again, instructions are on the website, plussizeinchicago.com. And you're just going to look up creamy macaroni and cheese recipe. Once that sauce is done, I'm going to add the penne pasta to it, stir it up, add it to one of my favorite casserole dishes, and I'm going to add a little bit more cheese on top, so like about a cup more of cheese, and I'm going to cook it in the oven on 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm only going to cook that between 10 to 15 minutes baking time. Yeah, so after adding my cheese, I add some smoky paprika, and that does give it a nice flavor too. So we're back at my pork chops. These are done. These are like a 1/2 inch thick. So I've been cooking them for like 5 minutes on each side. I do that 3 times, so it's like 15 minutes fully. Now, as I'm taking these pork chops out, I'm putting it on a cooking rack. So my cooking rack has some paper towels at the bottom just to catch the grease as it's on top of the wire frame of the cooking rack. So this helps to keep the pork chops crispy as they're, like cooling off. But yeah, using a cooking rack is much better than just putting it directly on the paper towels. All right, guys, so the last thing I'm making is the Brussels sprouts. What I have here is about 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter. I've also added some minced garlic. And to the Brussels sprouts, I'm adding some of my favorite seasoning, which is from Spanglish Asadero, the all-purpose seasoning. I'm also adding some garlic powder and some thyme. So once I sprinkle all that on the Brussels sprouts, I'm going to cover them with a top and let them simmer for about 15 minutes. And I'm checking on them in between that time just to make sure that they don't burn. And that's pretty much it. That's like the simplest thing you can do. Some people put balsamic vinegar to their Brussels sprouts, but because I'm using that garlic and the butter, I didn't want to add balsamic vinegar because I'm not sure how that flavor profile would be. So I'm going to come back to my macaroni and cheese. I've taken that out the oven. It's been baking for about 15 minutes at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. And it is all ready. It's like really nice and gooey. I like to use the penne pasta as an alternative to the elbow macaroni and cheese. So guys, I hope that you like what you've seen. You know, if you are a subscriber to this channel, thank you for coming back. If you are not a subscriber, please make sure to click the subscribe button. You can also leave a comment and share this video with your friends and family. I'll see you guys next time.